And he took the book of the covenant and read in the audience of the people, and they said, all that the Lord hath said we will do, and be obedient.
Last week we talked about that covenant. The children of Israel, they made with God. They made a covenant with God. We will do. We will be obedient. You know, right after that, Moses goes up on the mountain. In chapter 32, we'll pick up again reading right there in verse number 1. And when the people saw that Moses delayed to come down out of the mountain, the people gathered themselves together unto Aaron and said unto him, Up, make us gods which shall go before us. For as for this Moses, the man that brought us up out of the land of Egypt, we wot not what is become of him. And Aaron said unto them, Break off the golden earrings which are in the ears of your wives, of your sons, and of your daughters, and bring them unto me. And all the people brake off the golden earrings which were in their ears, and brought them unto Aaron. And he received them at their hand, and fashioned it with a graving tool, after he had made it a golden calf. And they said, These be the gods, O Israel, which brought thee up out of the land of Egypt. And when Aaron saw it, he built an altar before it. And Aaron made proclamation and said, Tomorrow is a feast to the Lord. And they rose up early in the morning on the morrow and offered burnt offerings and brought peace offerings. And the people sat down to eat and drink and rose up to play. You know, Moses went up the mountain. Who did he leave in charge?
Aaron.
Left Aaron in charge. You know, the people, this generation, all they've ever known was idolatry. It was all around them, as in Egypt, you know, and the Egyptians had God after God after God. And you know, we talked last week about they've experienced God. They've experienced His power. They've experienced His mercy. They've seen His judgment. They've seen His deliverance. He provided food. He provided water. He led them in a pillar of cloud. Yet they think they need an idol. What do they need more than anything?
God.
They need faith. They need faith. You know, they have seen the one true and living God. Yet their lack of faith, they think they need an idol. This thing right here this morning, I picked it up, turned it over in there, and it says, wait with faith. It's what the children of Israel need to be doing. They need to be waiting with faith. Moses has been gone for 40 days. Oh, you have little faith. You know, they're impatient. They need to learn to live by faith. You know, down there in verse 6, it says they rose up to play. You know, there's a lot of people. A lot of people in this world, they'll rise up early to go sin. They'll get up early and they'll hook that boat and they'll take off, go fishing. They'll stay out down at the racetrack all night, can't make it to church Sunday morning. That's the world we live in today. You know, people rise up early, they'll go to do what they want to do, but yet they won't go to the house of God and worship.
That's idolatry, right? You pass over here at the, and I'm not judging these people, don't get me wrong, but when you pass by the Golden Gallon over here on Spring Place Road, and there's boats lined up to get in there to get the gas,
Yep.
and they've got their short stuff on, and you know they're not going to church. You know what I'm saying? They're saying, okay, this boat is my God.
Yep.
They're putting it before God. Might as well be God.
Anything you put before God, that is your God, that is your idol. Verse 7, And the Lord said unto Moses, Go get thee down, for thy people, which thou broughtest out of the land of Egypt, have corrupted themselves. They have turned aside quickly out of the way. Boy, we see that all the time, don't we? We see that all the time. Which I have commanded them. They have made them a molten calf, and have worshipped it, and have sacrificed thereunto, and said, These be thy gods, O Israel, which have brought thee up out of the land of Egypt. You know, a little later on here, Moses calls this, says they have committed a great sin. God gave them 10 commandments right here. They broke 2 of them, the first 2. And the Lord said unto Moses, I have seen this people, and behold, it is a stiff-necked people. He says, Now therefore let me alone, that my wrath may wax hot against them, that I may consume them, and I will make of thee a great nation. You remember that 40 number we was talking about the other day? Been a time of testing. While Moses was on the mountain, he's testing the congregation, you know, the nation of Israel down here. They failed the test. Now he's going to test Moses. I want you to watch. He says, I will make of thee a great nation. See, God, he's thinking, I'll just kill them all. We'll start all over right here. We'll make you a great nation. Your descendants a great nation. I'll multiply you just like he told Abraham. You remember that? You know, I went back and looked back there in Genesis 22. And let's read a couple more verses. I'm going to get ahead of myself. And Moses besought the Lord his God and said, Lord, why doth thy wrath wax hot against thy people, which thou hast brought forth out of the land of Egypt with great power and with a mighty hand? Wherefore should the Egyptians speak and say, For mischief did he bring them out, to slay them in the mountains, and consume them from the face of the earth? Turn from thy fierce wrath, and repent of this evil against thy people. So remember Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, thy servants, to whom thou swearest by thy own name, and saidst unto them, I will multiply your seed as the stars of heaven. And all this land which I have spoken of I will give unto your seed, and they shall inherit it forever. Now I went back to Genesis 22 and I looked, and when God made that covenant with Abraham and Isaac, it's not conditional. See, this is why I think it's the test for Moses. See, God made that covenant with Abraham, and he says, because, he told Abraham, he says, because you have done what I told you. Isaac's laying on the altar. He says, because you was going to take the life of his son, I will multiply you. See, the covenant with Abraham was made because of his obedience and his faith. It was not conditional. God ain't going to back up on that promise right there. So he's testing Moses. He wants to see where's Moses' heart at. You know, I believe God's got a pretty good idea, but he wants to test him. But now I want you to look at Moses. You know, how many people in the camp down there would not have jumped up and said, oh, yes, Lord, make me a great nation? How many of them down there in the camp do you think would have stood up? Not on his behalf. Well, I want you to see right here. Moses has got God's reputation. He's thinking about God's reputation. He says, God, what would the Egyptians think? What are they going to think? You brought us out here just to kill these people. You know, what about your glory, God? What's it going to look like if you kill all these people? God, you made a promise with Abraham. He says, remember that? He says, you can't kill these people. See, Moses is interceding on behalf of God's glory, on behalf of God's people. You know, we talk Moses being symbolic of Christ. Right here you start seeing that. God first, the others second. See? He goes on, and the Lord repented of this evil which he thought to do unto the people. And Moses turned and went down from the mountain. The 2 tables of the testimony were in his hand. The tables were written on both of their sides, on the one side and on the other were they written. And the tables were the work of God, and the writing was the writing of God graven upon the tables. And when Joshua heard the noise of the people as they shouted, now you remember when Moses went on up the mountain, Joshua went with him. He left Aaron, Hur, and the 70. Joshua and Moses goes farther. Eventually he leaves Joshua, but Joshua goes farther up. Now, I see this right here, and I see Joshua still sitting up there. Aaron, Hur, the 70, they're back down in the camp. But as Moses starts back down the mountain, he comes to Joshua. He hears the noise from the camp. Joshua had been patiently waiting. You know, Joshua and Caleb, they were 2 of the spies that went over. They were the only 2 that had the faith. I believe Joshua patiently waited, still sitting up there waiting on Moses to come back down. You kind of start seeing a picture here of maybe why God chose Joshua to be the successor of Moses. And when Joshua heard the noise of the people as they shouted, he said unto Moses, there is a noise of war in the camp. And he said, it is not the voice of them that shout for mastery, neither is it the voice of them that cry for being overcome, but the noise of them that sing do I hear. And it came to pass, as soon as they came nigh unto the camp, that he saw the calf and the dancing, and Moses' anger waxed hot, and he cast the tables out of his hand and brake them beneath the mount. This is symbolic of the breaking of the covenant. The children of Israel have broken their covenant with God. They have broken the first 2 commandments. This is symbolic, I believe, of that, the breaking of the tables. And he took the calf which they have made, and he burned it in the fire, and ground it to powder, and strawed it upon the water, and made the children of Israel to drink it. And Moses said unto Aaron, what did this unto thee? What did this people unto thee, that thou hast brought so great a sin upon them? And Aaron said, let not the anger of my Lord wax hot. Thou knowest the people, that they are set on mischief. For they said unto me, make us gods, which shall go before us. For as for this Moses, the man which brought us up out of the land of Egypt, we wot not what is become of him. And I said unto them, whosoever hath any gold, let them break it off. So they gave it to me, then I cast it into the fire, and there came out this calf.
I got that underlined in my Bible. I thought that's kind of funny.
I just throwed it in the fire, and there came out this calf. Now, is this not a lame excuse? Aaron's supposed to be in charge. You know, when the people come to him and start, we don't know what's happened to Moses. Number one, he should have consulted God. He should have went to God and had God, kind of let these people know that everything's all right. He should have started talking to God. Even though God's talking to Moses, he'd still talk to Aaron too. But instead, he starts feeding their lust. They're lusting after something they can see, even though you can still see God's glory sitting over here on the mountain. But Aaron says, I told them break off their gold. They gave it to me. I threw it in the fire. And there just come out this calf. And when Moses saw that the people were naked, For Aaron had made them naked unto their shame among their enemies. I believe this right here, this means that they're naked in their sin. Their true hearts are exposed. Then Moses stood in the gate of the camp and said, Who is on the Lord's side? Let him come unto me. All the sons of Levi gathered themselves together unto him. And he said unto them, Thus saith the Lord God of Israel, Put every man his sword by his side, and go in and out from gate to gate throughout the camp, and slay every man his brother, and every man his companion, and every man his neighbor. And the children of Levi did according to the word of Moses. And there fell of the people that day about 3,000. Now, was there just 3,000 involved in this rebellion down there? No, I don't think so. I believe the number 3,000, I think when Moses comes back in, I think things kind of start settling down, you know, and starts calming down. But I believe we've got 3,000 out there that's kind of trying to lead this rebellion, trying to keep this thing going. They're still trying to, you know, it didn't matter if Moses was in the camp or if Moses was out of the camp. There was always somebody in there doing this. There's always somebody. Just like in our churches today, you know, there's always going to be somebody that's doing a little bit of something. Backbiting, murmuring. You know, it's always going to be there. You know, what we need to do, though, is if we hear it, if it comes to us and we start hearing it, you know, we need to pray for that person. We need to try to help them to understand and see where they're wrong. The kind of things, you know, that Aaron should have been doing here with the children of Israel. This right here is, you know, the Levites, they were the chosen ones to be the priests. And this right here is why. Because they stood up right here for God. And God used them to pass judgment. That's why they were the chosen priests from here on. For Moses had said, Consecrate yourselves today to the Lord, even every man unto his son and upon his brother, that he may bestow upon you a blessing this day. And it came to pass on the morrow that Moses said unto the people, You have sinned a great sin. And now I will go up unto the Lord. Peradventure I shall make an atonement for your sin. Now remember a minute ago, think about Christ. Moses is a picture of Christ here. Now, keep an eye on this. It says, You have sinned a great sin. And now I will go up unto the Lord. Peradventure I shall make an atonement for your sin. And Moses returned unto the Lord and said, Oh, this people have sinned a great sin, and have made them gods of gold. Yet now, if thou wilt forgive their sin, and if not, blot me out, I pray thee, out of the book which thou hast written. Moses says, Spare the people. Take me, spare the people. And the Lord said unto Moses, Whosoever has sinned against me, him will I blot out of my book. Therefore now go lead the people unto the place which I have spoken unto thee. And behold, mine angel shall go before thee. Nevertheless, in the day when I visit, I will visit their sin upon them. And the Lord plagued the people because they had made the calf which Aaron made. Tuesday night, I'd read my lesson, and a friend of mine called me. Talked to him about 45 minutes, and he's got problems. His wife wants a divorce. When I laid down that night, you know, every time I talk to him, you know, he says, Pray for me. he said pray for her. But you know, last weekend, he had a hard time. He had moved out of his house. First of the week, I think Monday, she hits him with a order of protection. So I've known this boy for 35 years, I guess. He was part of my life. She's doing him wrong. He says, pray for me. I pray for him. I pray God, have his hand on this situation. I pray, Lord, strengthen him, keep him faithful, give you comfort. But Tuesday night, I laid down in bed and this lesson starts running back through my head. The Lord told me I'm not praying for her like I need to be praying for her. She needs a touch from God. But how many of us are not praying the way we need to be praying for people? Just as Moses put himself aside, put everything else aside. He thought about God. He thought about the people. He thought about others. It don't matter what they've done. They have committed two of the worst. I don't know if you really categorize sin, but they broke the first two of the 10 Commandments. Yet Moses stood up on their behalf. And that's what I want you to get from the lesson today. Are we praying the way we need to pray? People we need to be praying for. I love you.